Man, I forgot I got to follow up fucking Fearless on this thing.
But it might be a good thing because now more people might listen and then they actually listen to you and shit.
Yeah,
So
I like that.
you never know, brother.
That's perfect.
So today I got for you guys Tom Rauen, who's an absolute rock star. This dude has the most interesting story that I've ever met from anybody. So Tom, I'm not gonna butcher your intro. Why don't you just give the people a quick synopsis of who the hell you are, what you're doing, and just where you're at now?
Yeah, so Tom Rauen from Dubuque, Iowa, CEO and founder of 1-800-tshirts.com and Round Capital, Fast Food Landlord. So into triple net lease commercial real estate. And some of our tenants are Starbucks, Arby's, Applebee's, FedEx, Midas Muffler, anything prime real estate in whatever city we're going in, long-term triple net leases, and like to go on crazy adventures and just live life to the fullest.
All right, so a lot to unpack here, and we're going to visit a couple of those things. But I got to tell you guys the story of when I first met Tom. This was probably 2, 3 years ago at the
Yeah.
Best Ever Conference, something around there. So a bunch of us degenerates are hanging out at the bar, our little watering hole in the hotel that the conference is at, and somehow we link up with Tom, and we're getting after it, right? With just all the non-residential people, and it's like 12:30 at this point, and the bar in Salt Lake City closes at like 1. So finally, we get to talking, like, what time are you guys going to wake up tomorrow? I might hit the gym. I'll get up at like 8, 9 o'clock. I don't know. Probably roll in late to the conference. Tom was like, oh, man, I got to get up at like 5. I'm like, hold the fuck on. What do you mean you're going to get up at 5? So he goes, yeah, man, I got to go run tomorrow. I'm like, what? Some crazy training regimen or something, blah, blah, blah. So I keep digging. And Tom goes, actually, I'm going to run like, it was either 10 or 13 miles the next morning. And I was like, this dude is out of his fucking mind. He's going to wake up with 4 hours of sleep and run 13 miles tomorrow. So if you guys are listening, I'm already floored just telling this story. So we keep digging and keep digging. It might not have been that night, probably the next day or whatever. Let's say it was the next day. I go, Tom, did you really run 13 miles this morning? Sure as shit, he ran 13 miles that next morning. So I kept digging. I'm like, what the hell are you fucking training for? Like, I haven't ran 13 miles in my entire life, nor walk 13 miles my entire life. And this guy's just waking up early doing 13 miles. He goes, oh man, I'm training for this next ultra marathon. And I'm like, ultra marathon? So how long's the race? He goes, 100 miles. I go, hold the fuck on. Are you shitting me right now? 100 miles. I'm like, what does this take? He goes, I don't know. Less than, somewhere around 24 hours, less than that. I get it done in roughly like 18 or so. And I am baffled at this point. I have no words to say. And on top of that, to put more salt on the injury, he goes, and I actually win them. I don't know how crazy this guy is to do 100-mile races. Like, I hope you guys are as floored as I am because I think this is absolutely crazy. So Tom, why 100-mile races? Like, what makes you want to do 100 miles instead of like, are marathons just too easy for you now? Like, what the hell's going on in your mind right now?
Yeah, I think it's this kind of thirst for like what's possible and, pushing the boundary mentally, physically, emotionally of like, all right, where can we go? And like, what's that breaking point? And then once you reach that breaking point and you go past it, you realize like where your full potential is and that, there may have been something that was holding you back from actually getting there. And then once you like raise the bar, raise that level, you realize you can actually go a lot farther and you can do a lot more. And I use that not only just in running. So yeah, most people think the limit or the wall is, 13 miles or 26 miles for a full marathon. And, you can go 100, you can go beyond that even. I've got friends that have done races that are 250 miles, which is absolutely insane. But the same goes for investing in real estate and running a business, right? Like I remember our first couple deals, like my first deal was 100,000, it was $105,000. And then I remember my first deal that was at 1 million, right? And both of those took like some mental and emotional capacity to like, okay, you're up at night thinking about it, and like, sweating a little bit, right? Because it's a big deal. But then once you get through that, and once you learn that, and then next thing you know, the next deal is 3 million, and then 4 million, and 5, and then 7. It's like, so once you've done a $7 million deal, all of a sudden the $1 million one seems really easy. And the same goes for running 100 miles. Once I've ran a 100-mile race or climbed like a big mountain, waking up, on a Saturday morning after being out with, you guys drinking all night, 13 miles doesn't seem like too much to me, because I've pushed the bar, pretty hard.
So what you're saying was it was harder staying up late and drinking with us than running 13 miles.
Oh yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so I want to hit on these crazy shit that you've done in the past. So 100-mile runs, and I'm guessing that's probably one of the longest or the longer runs that you've done. Yes?
Yeah.
Give me some like crazy ass shit that happens during these crazy ass runs. Whether it's a mental thing that you're going through, trying to fight through that, or just shit that you see running for fucking 18 hours.
Yeah. So the one I did, it's the biggest in the world. It's called UTMB, Ultra Trail Mont Blanc. And you start in Chamonix, France, run through France, Italy, and Switzerland. It's 109 miles with 33,000 feet of climb and descent. And it starts at 6 p.m. So they purposely have it set up so you're going to be running basically throughout 2 nights without sleep. And so the second night is when you really start getting that sleep deprivation and are hallucinating and seeing stuff. So, I can't describe it. I was seeing like giant spiders, saw what I thought were goats. They were not. They were just shadows, and, just all sorts of crazy stuff. So your mind definitely goes into some different places. But no matter how hard you prepare for a 100-mile race, you don't know what's going to happen throughout the course of that amount of time and that amount of miles. There's so many variables that can happen from a nutrition standpoint, muscle standpoint, mentally. You're telling yourself to quit a million times and to keep going 1,000,001 times. And again, like, I relate all this back to doing business or investing in real estate, because the same things happen. Like, you get a deal in a contract and you're working through all the due diligence, and you're probably like talking yoururself out of that deal 100 times and talking yourself back into it 101 times. And you're also encountering obstacles along the way. So whether you're bringing your own capital or you're raising money, there's obstacles, there's things you got to overcome. There's stuff that just happens that no matter what happens, whether in a 100-mile race or in the real estate, again, you can have the best game plan. You can know what you can here's what you think's going to happen. And then at the 11th hour, the lender calls up and changes, something. They need a phase 1, or they need something else, or the seller or somebody, or the buyer in some cases, like something changes. So you always have to be ready to pivot, make adjustments, and just figure out how to keep going and to get to the finish line.
Got it. It's all about that finish line, right? So you mentioned 1-800 t-shirts. Give us a little bit more color on when that was started, what's it doing now, and just kind of the basics of why you even started it.
Yeah, so that's the main business. The real estate's still, what I call the side hustle as we're growing up our portfolio. I started 1-800 t-shirts in my parents' basement 20 years ago. We do custom apparel for businesses all throughout the United States. So everything from, polos to jackets, hats, t-shirts, hooded sweatshirts, anything that you can print on, all sorts of swag. And, started in my parents' basement 20 years ago, have been growing at an annual average rate of 20% a year for 20 years. We had the Inc. 5000 list for fastest growing companies in the US 3 years in a row. And now, I went from my parents' basement to now, where we're at 20 years later. We're in a 35,000 square foot production facility where, we're doing the screen printing, we're doing the embroidery, and we've got, a big team of people doing the printing and everything else. We've got designers, we've got a sales team, customer service team, and everything else. And so a fun business, work with a lot of different clients, and it's been the thing I've done since the beginning.
Hell yeah, brother. That's badass. So 1-800 t-shirts, you had to buy that domain for super early on, right? Or was it pricey?
No, so we acquired that domain and the phone number with another business in 2020, right in the middle of the pandemic. And I utilized a lot of the real estate stuff that I've learned as far as seller financing and structuring a deal with this deal. So I'd reached out to the owner of it in 2015, and for 5 years was basically forming a relationship with them, following up with phone calls, sending handwritten letters in the mail, sending emails, basically every month or two for 5 years. And so again, similar to real estate, if you're going after a property and you're kind of cold calling them and showing interest and starting to build that relationship and reach out to them, it's not gonna happen on the first time. So it took a lot of nurturing, and over that course, that 5 years, we built that relationship. So when it came time to sell, we worked out a deal, did seller financing, and had it all come together. So it was, a great deal for both sides, and we still have a great relationship with that seller, which again, I always just relate, like whether it's running or operating the t-shirt business or doing real estate, like everything correlates and the same principles kind of go hand in hand from each thing. So, with this seller of the business we bought, we still have a great relationship. So, which I tell, anyone investing in real estate, like you don't want to screw somebody over. You want to make sure you have a good relationship with, the selling broker, the seller, any buyers, anyone that you really deal with in the industry, because chances are either they're going to have another property come available, or you're going to have something down the line where you're going to cross paths again. And so I've always, just had great communication and great rapport with anyone I've dealt with on the buy or the sell side, because I understand, like, over the course of the next, 10, 20, 30 years, we're probably going to cross paths again on another deal.
100%, 100%. Before we get into the meat of it, where we're talking about the real estate, I do want to touch on t-shirts just one last time, because you guys don't know this, but Tom holds the Guinness World Record for the most t-shirts worn. And so, Rauen, why don't you give us the backstory behind you, whatever the record was, and how you prepared to beat it, how many shirts you wore, etc. Give us all the juicy parts.
Yeah, so I broke the Guinness World Record for wearing the most t-shirts at one time, and that was 247 t-shirts. If you can imagine what that looked like, I was like the, Michelin man, basically, type thing. And it was, it ranged from size medium shirts all the way up to last year was a 20XL. And I almost died in the process. The weight and the pressure of that many shirts on a human body is not recommended, apparently. So I've always grew up, reading the Guinness World Records and seeing the book. And I was like, oh man, it'd be so cool to do a record someday. And then I just searched one day. I was like, all right, I'm going to search t-shirt records and see what was out there. I was like, biggest t-shirt in the world that was like the size of a football field. And there was a couple other ones. And I saw this one. I was like, oh my gosh, this is so ridiculous. I've got to attempt to do this. And so practiced a bunch and kind of just put together like a team of people to help with it. We hosted a big event to do it live, flew in the adjudicator from Guinness World Records to, make sure we were counting and doing everything according to the rules. And then we sold sponsorships on all the shirts and raised a little more than $5,000 for Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation. So we kind of just tied in this whole big community event for it, broke the record, was on CNN and got worldwide press from it. It was just kind of a fun thing to do. And then got a lot of exposure for 1-800 t-shirts, as the end result.
So you were sitting under 247 fucking t-shirts, and you said, in that environment, it's the pressure and probably the temperature as well.
Yeah.
And were you like flipping your shit at this point, like about to just
pass
out?
I was pretty calm. I couldn't do anything. Couldn't even move. I had a team of 6 people putting the shirts on me. I'd lost all feeling in my hands and my arms, so I was just kind of there. And I had an out of body experience. It was crazy. Like afterwards, I was like, man, I almost ended up on that show of like crazy ways to die.
Yeah,
You know,
no
that's
shit.
like, holy crap, that would have been just weird. But yeah, it was quite the experience.
So like obviously with all the crazy shit that you're doing, you have a lot of mental fortitude, a lot of like toughness mentally, right? And I bet you would be a subscriber to the David Goggins thought that, when you think you're done, you're actually only 40% into what your body's capable of actually doing. So you
Yeah.
essentially have 60% left in the tank. Could you have put on one more shirt?
Oh man, I don't know. I was My face was completely purple. It was above my mouth and my nose. They may have gotten like one or two more on, but I was in pretty bad shape. I would say that was like the previous record was 245 and we beat it by two. And the reason was like, we got to the record, then we beat it. And then my wife was like, all right, we got to do one more in case we miscount it or something. So I feel like that was a point where I for sure maxed out. I mean, I was in a bad spot to break that record. I'll say that.
Or maybe she was just trying to get rid of you.
Yeah. Life insurance was paid out, baby.
Okay, so a lot of cool shit that Tom's in, and so we're gonna transition to real estate now, and this might be the more boring part of it, hearing all the cool shit that Rowan's done. But Tom, you mentioned your first deal was 105,000.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
That was
Fourplex.
fourplex. Wow, that's pretty fucking cheap. Yeah.
Yeah.
Also in Dubuque.
Yeah. So, bad area of town, complete shithole. Fourplex on seller financing. So I only had to put down like, it was like $5,000 down. I was, I think 28 at the time, something like that. Though that's basically all the money I had to my name. I remember getting a check. My grandpa passed away. It was like $5,400. And that's basically all I had to go in on. And it was the worst experience ever.
Why
Yeah.
so? Tenants.
The tenants, it was crazy. Like one was a drug dealer, another was like a stripper slash whatever. I mean, just paying in dollars all the time. The other guy was a hoarder. He was like a gamer and a hoarder. We had to clean out his apartment. I bet there was 1,000 pizza boxes. It was so infested with like mice and mice poop everywhere. It was disgusting. Another guy, I don't know what his deal was. It was all four units were absolute disaster. It was crazy. Like we dealt with police calls in the middle of the night. We were dealing with drug busts. We were dealing with trying to just chase them down for rent. The basement flooded. Every like horror story I think anyone could talk about in multifamily, we dealt with in that fourplex. And when we sold it, we eventually were like, all right, this is like enough's enough. We just got to evict everybody, get them out of here. We're going to remodel all the units and basically flip this thing and get it sold, right? It had some storage units behind it as well. So I was like, all right, let's sell the fourplex, try to cash out as much as we can there, and then try to get the storage units. There were like 16 storage units, try to have those free and clear. And the night after I sent all the tenants an eviction letter, I get a call at like 3 a.m. from the fire department. They torched the storage units.
Shut
So
up.
I go down and there are flames 30 feet in the air. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is absolutely crazy. So storage units basically burned to the ground. I get everybody evicted and out of there. And we go in, we basically paint the whole thing top to bottom, new countertops, carpets, the whole 9 yards. Luckily sell it like within a month. And we sell it for, I believe the price was $110,000.
Wow.
So got it paid off, plus an extra, 5,000 on top. And now we own this storage unit property free and clear. But now we've got to rebuild. We get an insurance check to rebuild the storage property. So we rebuild that one. And then like 2 years later, we sold the storage units. And that was money I used to put into our first commercial property. Looking back, I was doing a presentation to a local investor group, and I was like, oh, I got to piece together like this timeline and show my journey. And so I went back and I looked at the date that we bought the fourplex and the date that we sold it. And when I looked that up online, I just went to the assessor site and looked at the buy and the sell date. And I was like, holy shit. I like called my wife into the office. I'm like, Amanda, come in here. You got to see this. And she's like, what? I said, how long do you think we own that fourplex? And she's like, I don't know. It was at least 2 or 3 years. And I was like, yeah, it felt like, a decade, right? And then I was like, look, here's when we bought it. And here's when I sold it. It was 8 months. So we dealt with all this crazy stuff in like an 8-month time period. It was absolutely crazy. And from then on, I was like, I will never own another property where somebody lives. I'm only doing commercial. So that got us into our first commercial building. After our first one, our second one was a triple net lease, which I had no clue at the time what that meant. And when I learned that was that the tenant was paying the taxes, the insurance, and all the overhead, and I didn't even have to like go to that property or talk to anyone, a whole new world opened up for me. I was like, holy crap, this is it. This is exactly what I need. Because I knew that wouldn't take away time and energy from the t-shirt business and from family and traveling and friends and everything else. Like I knew that was the niche that we had to go into.
Well, in reality, commercials pretty much in your blood because you had a stripper, you had a drug dealer, all business owners living in your property.
I mean, I'm an entrepreneur at heart. I love entrepreneurs, but these were not the type I wanted living in my property.
Not the type of business people that you wanted in your building,
No.
right? So you took that capital from the first fourplex, rolled it into commercial properties. Let's take one step back. When you started, why did you want to buy? So you already had this business going. Why did you want to transition into real estate?
Yeah, so a couple things. One, I knew like long term, I want to be able to generate some passive income and start growing some wealth in the background. And so if there's like a downturn or something happened where the t-shirt business, failed or gotten, a bad situation, like that we had other income sources coming in to help support our family and things like that. And we needed, at that point, we were in a 2,000 square foot space for the t-shirt business, and we were growing. And I was like, all right, well, if we're going up, to 4,000 or 5,000 square foot space, I don't want to be paying all that rent. I would rather just be paying myself for it. So we had looked for a good year or two at spots, and I just couldn't find a spot because I wanted a great location, great visibility from the highway and all these things. And the space I found was 12,000 square feet, and we were at 2,000. I was like, holy crap, like this doesn't make sense. And I looked at this space a year earlier, and it didn't make sense then. It still didn't make sense now. Plus, it was way out of our price range. It was listed, it was like $950,000, and it was an old electronics store. And I came back to it, and I'm like, I'm piecing together, I'd read Rich Dad Poor Dad and a few other real estate books. And I'm trying to like piece stuff together. I'm like, okay, how can I make this work? Like, one, it's way more than we've got enough money for. And then two, like, I don't need 12,000 square feet. I'll never need that for the rest of my life to fill up a t-shirt business. So I remember like the concept of house hacking, on how you buy a duplex, you live in one side, you rent out the other side, and the renters help them pay for the mortgage. And I'm like, I wonder if I can house hack this commercial property. And so I was like, you know what? We don't need all 12,000 square feet. So I was like, what if we redo the facade, we turn it into multiple storefronts, and we take 7,000 square feet and then lease out 5,000, and the 5,000 would cover the mortgage for it. And so I kind of just like put that together, put an offer in at 650,000. They accepted it. I had no clue how to get the money for it then, or to finance it, or anything. And so we sold the storage units, and then I kept piecing together some other, literally pulling money out of the couch cushions to get the down payment. Did an SBA loan on it. So then we only had to put 10% down instead of 20%. So I only had to come up with 65,000. But I was like 30 years old. Like, to find 65,000 at the age of 30 was, I am scraping this thing together. I did extend, looking back on this, Tanya, this is going to blow your mind. I extended the closing 6 times. We were under contract for this thing for like 7 months, and the building was vacant for like 2 years. So these sellers had to just like, I don't know what was going through their head. I can't believe they didn't finally just like pull it and say, you know what, we're taking the earnest money and running with it. But I extended that thing and just kept extending it because I needed more time to like find the capital and everything else to make the deal happen. And then, I sold the belief and the vision and the plan to, one of our local banks to finance it. And, they said, how long do you think it's going to take you to lease up? I'm like, a year. And they said, all right, well, if you can do it within a year, we think you can, make the numbers work. And luckily, like within 2 months, we'd found a tenant to take all 5,000 square feet, and boom, we were like off to the races. The full cycle on that building, that's one of besides the fourplex and the storage units, that building is the only other building that we've sold. And we sold it in 2021. So bought it in 2012 for $650,000. 2021, 9 years later, we sold that building for $1.65 million, for $1 million on the upside.
Holy shit, bro. What a rip. I love the creativity behind it and the tenacity of extending, selling the lender on it, and just making shit work. You know what I mean? Love that. So you are the fast food landlord. So many of your tenants are obviously triple net tenants. Tom mentioned in the beginning, Arby's, etc. Some of these higher national credit tenants. So would it be accurate to presume that right now all of your tenants are these higher end tenants that are on triple net leases?
Not all of them. Most of them are. So, we still have some strip centers where you've got the local nail salon, local pizza shop, of course, a vape shop, and a few other things in there. So, even one of our industrial properties has a local welding, shop that, they're making big pressurized tanks and stuff like that. So we do have a mix of, local tenants as well as the big national ones. And I think especially on strip centers that are in the heart and core of, an urban area, those things are supported, and those are like the recession resistant things where like no matter where the economy's at, people are still going to go, to the laundromat and to get their nails done and get their hair cut, and to the vape shop. That stuff's tried and true really in those areas. So we like those, but then, we also have the national ones that, we know are going to be there too, and they pay a higher rent, amount as well. So I think we've got a nice healthy mix. So even though, I coined the term fast food landlord because most people don't realize, like when you drive down the main street in whatever city, that investors can own Arby's and McDonald's and Starbucks and Taco Bell and Panera and Olive Garden. Like most people just think that those like tenants also own the property, but it's like, no, investors just like you and me can own that real estate, and they can be our tenant paying for it. And once I realized that, that's where I was like, holy crap, this is wild. I thought of all the restaurants and stuff on that street and how they've been there since I was a kid. I was like, man, somebody's been collecting rent from those guys for the last 20 years, 30 years. So like, that's pretty wild. And then when we bought, one and it had, 20 years left on the lease, I was like, this is crazy. Like my kids are going to be like fully grown before that lease is up. So it's a fascinating thing that most people don't realize, because you never see a sign in the front, in the parking lot or in the front of a McDonald's or an Arby's saying like for sale, right? Like it's always, no sign in there. So a lot of people just don't know it's available.
Gotcha. So your primary portfolio now, what are you focused on acquiring more of? Or I guess what type of tenants in what area, and I guess just the classifications of your portfolio in general?
Yeah. Right now we're super heavy in Iowa, and we're focused on Iowa. Most people don't know where Iowa's at. And so it eliminates a lot of competition when we're looking for these properties. And now all of a sudden, someone's going to be listening to this from California and be like, all right, I got to figure out where I was at and start going after this. But, so we do that. One, we know the neighborhoods. We know the people that are living there. We know the operators, the managers of the stores. We feel very comfortable about that. Either we know somebody there, we have a cousin or somebody we're related to that lives there. So we just know the area. There's intangibles on that. When you know the management, the type of customers that are patronizing a store, that stuff you can't read, browsing the internet for, a property, or you can't look that up on Google. So that gives us a little more advantage. As far as the mix of properties, right now, we've got a really nice diversified mix between industrial, we've got some medical, we've got the, fast food restaurants, we got the casual dining, we've got the strip centers, a couple warehouses, stuff like that. So it's a wide range. And I think right now, dollar stores, as far as going a little bit bigger box. And I think right now it's we're just looking on how can we keep that diversification within the triple net lease space, going and then adjust to wherever the market's at. Right now, we've got a lot of stuff in the portfolio that's long-term leases, just really passive and long-term stuff that we plan on holding for a long time. So right now we're kind of looking at maybe some more value add deals where we can either grab some cash flow or do a flip where we're adding a immense amount of value and maybe, grabbing $1 million or $2 and then rolling that into some longer term stuff. So just kind of a mix. Right now we're also doing our first development project. And so learning something new on that side. One of our long-term industrial tenants, they've been with us for 10 years. They're expanding and, want to build. They're building on, currently their current building's 45,000 square feet. They're building another 30,000 square foot building onto that. So they just did a new 20-year lease, and it includes, the cost of building that. So it's kind of a new project that we're doing and working through just kind of all the adventures of development with that.
Your hands are in so many fucking pots, man.
Not marinas yet.
Not marinas yet. Eventually. Right? But it sounds like the majority of the portfolio is probably retail. Would that be?
Yeah, for sure.
So a lot of people are kind of shitting on retail. They're seeing all this bullshit out there. They're scared of it. What would you say to the naysayer that's kind of shitting on retail?
I mean, retail is hot. I think people have been saying it for a long time. The Amazon is going to take down retail, and, just basically the internet's going to take down retail, right? But what we're seeing now, especially even with big brands, is they understand that they need that retail presence, the brand equity that they're building, where people may buy online, but they still want to go to somewhere physically where they can see and touch and feel, the item, whether it's shoes to be able to try them on, or, a hooded sweatshirt or something like that. It's still there. And it also just creates an experience. So I think we see a lot of retailers shifting to they want that experience when you come in through the front door. What's the music that you hear? What does it smell like in there? You go into some places oh my gosh, they're pumping some sort of fragrance into the air. And so it's that's an experience you can't get online. So they're doing that, and you see Lululemon, where they're doing yoga classes and different things like that. So I think they're tying in, they understand a lot of market share is going directly to their website, directly to Amazon or whatever, but they're tying in the experience of going to the physical location, creating a community within that area, because they know that creates brand loyalty and just all the other kind of things that go with it. So we've seen some brands pull out of retail and say, well, the overhead, you got to cut back. But then now they're coming back because they realize the importance of the stickiness of that brand loyalty, of having that presence there. So even though, especially in bigger cities where it might be higher rent, let's say Miracle Mile in Chicago, where you've got Nike and Under Armour and Lululemon and everybody, right? But even if the Under Armour store in downtown Chicago was not making money, they would never pull out of there, because just by not having a presence there, they would lose brand affinity and loyalty and stuff like that. So that would automatically pull down their online sales. So people are understanding that the retail correlation between physical location and online, like all tie together. That's big brands. Now locally, you've got the mom and pop businesses, which, small businesses are the backbone of every community. And I'm a huge advocate for entrepreneurs. And those are what hold everything together. It's the old Italian restaurant that's been there for 50 years. It's the nail salon. It's, the hairstylist and all these other things that are staples in a community. And again, it's because like the owners and the people working there, their kids go to school with, the customers' kids, and like everyone like is in the ecosystem together where they're supporting one another. So those are also like very strong for a community as well, and also need it where you can't, add AI or outsource getting your haircut or your nails done. So I always think those are going to be, there's tried and true things that are going to happen at a retail level in every community.
Gotcha. Well, I have to ask this because every conference we go to, we get asked the same question, and I'm gonna throw some shade at Liam DeLumpa, who we met, who was out there 3 years ago. The funny story was he was just attached to us for some ungodly known reason, consistently every day, and just kind of like one of those gnats that just won't go away, And he was kind of attached to Tom for a minute, and he would continuously ask Tom, like, "Hey, man, how many doors do you own?" So, Tom, I gotta ask you, what was your reply to his question?
I don't remember. Oh, it probably was like in triple net lease or in commercial like retail stuff, like nobody's counting doors, right?
Exactly.
And I think your reply was all right, like are we caught inside doors, outside doors, closet doors, garage doors? In industrials, like how many dock doors do you have? And so that was like the big I guess measurement among the multifamily guys. Like, yeah, I got 1,000 doors. Like, all right, cool. That's amazing. When you can have one door in commercial, and that one door could be worth 5 or 10 million. And I've also seen people measure on like, oh, I've got, a couple 100,000 square feet, whatever, so we're at 25 properties, closing on 2 more tomorrow. So we'll have 27 properties, somewhere around 50 tenants. One of these days I'll have to drive around and count how many total doors. The ones with double doors might throw it off, and garage doors and whatnot, but we're gonna get a total door count and figure that out. All I know is if a door, like one of the hinges on a door, goes bad or something, it's not fun replacing doors. They're expensive. Commercial doors are much more expensive than multifamily as well, by the way. Like on the new building, like we're going through all the bids from contractors, and like a door's like $5,000 on a commercial building. I'm like how's this $5,000? I was like and I don't know what it is in an apartment building,
Like
might be 500 or 200. I think I saw doors for $200, and I'm like, what is this? So
not if you buy them used.
yeah.
God, that's too funny. But so once again, you got a ton of shit going on. You do all these crazy things, and a lot of hands in several pots, a lot of hats, etc. Family man, entrepreneur, investor. How do you balance all the shit that you have while also giving time to your family and also living a fulfilling life? Like you mentioned, you travel, right? So
Yeah.
how's that balance work?
We've got an amazing team. So my wife manages, pretty much all the real estate, and she takes care of that, and then also, helps keep me on track. And then we've got an amazing team here at 1-800 T-shirts, just everyone from, the front desk to, the people working the embroidery machines, screen printing presses, like everything. Like everybody on this team is absolute rock stars. I love working with every day. And then the other businesses, again, we just have like really good teams. And then if there is something that, is beyond the capacity or time or whatever, then if they're not on our team, we're partnered with really good, third party, vendors or partners really in that way. So we've got a good bookkeeping partnership with someone, good accounting team, some of the marketing and advertising. So we just like partner with really good people. and all I am is like the orchestrator to, keep all the plates spinning at the same time.
Love that. Love that. So your side hustle turned into kind of your main hustle, but it's a little bit more on the passive side because of a great team that you have kind of
Yeah.
handling everything, right?
Yep.
Okay. Well, one thing that I really love asking people is that, well, not everybody, but successful people is I want to know what is keeps the motor running, right? So someone like yourself who's super highly disciplined, have a strong, a strong mental fortitude. What are your daily habits like, and how did you get to the point where you're such a badass?
Yeah, I think creating those daily habits. So wake up at 5:30 and work out every morning, go for a run. And that's my time to clear my head, to kind of think about what I need to do for the day and get that kind of all sorted out. If I miss that, my whole day is kind of thrown off. And then just having priority of like what to do, but then also what not to do. The last couple of years, I've really been eliminating a lot of stuff that wasn't, moving the needle or wasn't going to, lead to big outcomes and stuff like that. Like I realized that there's a lot of things where I was like, why am I doing that? And, just stuff that was filling up time essentially. So eliminating a lot of time fillers. Then just, yeah, figuring out like prioritizing the rest of your time on where it needs to go. The other thing I've been doing a lot is playing a meditation before going to sleep. And that's been just like clearing my mind. So I used to wake up and be thinking about like, oh my gosh, I'm working on this or doing this and, halfway and stuff. And now I get really deep sleeps, and the meditations definitely recommend or helping with that. And so just staying consistent on those things just helps.
Aside from running, do you do any like weight training, or is it just kind of
Yeah.
cardio?
Yeah. So been doing more and more weight training and trying to mix it up. I understand my body, won't be able to run forever. So do some biking, get on the Peloton during the winter time. So running, Peloton, lifting, really anything just to get physically active and get the blood moving.
What has been, and it sounds like you're a huge reader and a learner in and of itself. So, what resource, book, podcast, whatever, has had the most profound impact on your life? And I guess if you could give one tidbit to the listeners or whatever of your favorite quote or the best advice that you could give, what would that be?
Yeah. So I study a lot of older entrepreneurs, and my favorite is Napoleon Hill. So he's got the book Think and Grow Rich, but he also has a ton of other books. So I will go back and re-listen to a lot of his stuff from a mindset perspective, and that's helped a ton. Andrew Carnegie as well. So I'll look at, some of the titans of the early 1900s and follow where they've been, how they got there. And a lot of them are living on like tried and true principles that are really timeless. And so that's why I'm listening to stuff and I'm like, holy crap, this was happening in the early 1900s or whenever, 100 years ago. And I'm like, this still applies today. It's almost as like if someone was telling it to you today, even in today's, circumstances with AI and the internet and everything else, I'm like, this is crazy. It still applies right now. So those are some of my favorites. One of my ultimate favorites, again, goes along the same vein of tried and true, principles is the 38 letters from J.D. Rockefeller to his son by J.D. Rockefeller. Absolutely phenomenal. And so, yeah, I just look at like these old dudes that, titans of their time, and it's still just like tried and true stuff. So everything from mindset to just like how to do business and live a fulfilled life and all that stuff. With the amount I run, I listen to a lot of books. So I can plow through books multiple times, 2x speed. So whether it's books or podcasts, I get a lot of content in and use that to help shape kind of my path and where I'm going.
Love that. So with the fast food stuff, if you could have any fast food chain as a tenant, which one would it be and why?
Oh wow, Olive Garden.
Olive Garden, okay.
I don't have an Olive Garden yet. I don't know of any that have closed. In Dubuque, Iowa, it is packed every night of the week. I'm like, that Olive Garden is going to be there for 100 years. And people are always going to love, Italian food, I think. Maybe Chick-fil-A is another one. And I feel like I had an opportunity a couple of years ago, and we had other deals going on. I just didn't get on this one that was local. And looking back, I'm like, man, that thing's going to be there. And my kids love eating there. So I was like, having the Chick-fil-A, the portfolio would have been awesome. We're keeping it on our radar. So I'm not saying one's off the list yet, but definitely the local one. I'm like, gosh, I wish I had that one.
So it'd be safe to say if you got either one of those, your go-to fast food order would be a chicken sandwich or the unlimited breadsticks.
Yeah. So yeah, I would. Yeah, and I think if they were my tenants, I would. Like I said, the kids love Chick-fil-A, but we'd definitely go there and patronize them even more, and just keep building that relationship.
Love it. Love it. Well, outside of everything that we've talked about, is there anything else that myself or the general public does not know about you that's just cool as shit?
No, I think we covered everything, or at least everything everyone needs to know right now. But it's constantly evolving. So the thing is, like, we're young yet. We're gonna keep doing this thing and keep growing, experiencing life to the fullest, and meet new people, do new deals. And there's always gonna be something coming down the pipeline. It's gonna be fun and interesting. And we'll do the ones that we can. And hopefully, say no to the ones that we need to say no to.
Man, when I grow up, I want to be like you and just start doing some cool shit like that. You know what I mean? But that's all the questions I had for your brother. As a handoff to the audience, let them know how to reach out to you, where Round Capital is, what you're looking for, how the audience can help you in general.
Yeah. So you can go to roundcapital.com, or just follow me on Instagram at Fast Food Landlord.
And then your 1-800 t-shirts.
Yeah, and
what's
then
the
the
website?
1-800 T-shirts, pretty self-explanatory there. You can call 1-800 T-shirts. Follow us on all social medias at 1-800 T-shirts.
And what is Rowan Capital specifically looking for? Deals and investors, I assume?
Yeah. So Round Capitals, we're looking for triple net deals. We're looking for investors. So we've got some syndications and some funds. So we're always looking for people to bring on and invest alongside of us.
Love it. Love it. And as you guys know, triple net leases with these type of tenants are very low risk. And Tom is an outstanding dude. He will never miss a pref payment. And if shit goes south, he's going to get you right. Right, Tom?
Yeah, I got you covered.
Well, shit, brother. That's all I had for you. That was awesome. Obviously, just you being a badass will probably fucking kill the episode. So,
Dude, it's always good seeing you.
good deal, brother. Appreciate you.
All right, let's see it.
See you, buddy.